This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you in part by the Naperville Sun.
Andy, a banner week for Naperville Central Athletics this week as far as the Hall of Fame induction, inaugural class. How did this idea kind of come about?
This idea came about, let's see, I took the job, and I started officially July 1, and then I think in August, Marty B., Bill Seipel, and Bill Hughes came and said, when we all retired, we want to start a Hall of Fame. And I said, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. You want to do this next year, right? And they said, no, we want to get it done this year. I said, no, you want to do this next year, right? But no, they want to get it done this year. So we met as a group. There's some teachers in the building, coaches in the building right now, and a couple community members that are very involved, kind of have created and made up the Hall of Fame committee. We collected names from current coaches, former coaches, and kind of going through the years. And we had a list of well over 50 names. And, and then trying to whittle that down and you say, no, this is the best of the best. And then we got to that. And then it was like, all right, now this is the best of the best of the best. We came up with those 11. There were some tough decisions in there, who was the top 11. But I think with the class that's going in, it's a great representation of Naperville Central Athletics, and I say Naperville Athletics as well, going all the way back to the class of 41 with John Zedrow. So I think there's some great names and representation there. And as we continue this in the future, we talked about trying to do 11 or 12 the first year, 11 or 12 the second year, and then going from there.
So this is something we are going to see a nice annual ceremony?
Yeah, this will be a yearly thing. I don't know that we'll be able to reproduce the ceremony we're going to do this year. Obviously, being a first induction, the excitement is out there. More and more community is kind of hearing about it, and hopefully they're going to show up. And we're going to, I think, put on a pretty good show. What's
kind of the excitement level been of people that you talk to? I imagine some of the inductees have to be pretty pumped up.
They were. A lot of them were surprised, excited, one, to hear about, hey, it's about time that a Hall of Fame was started. And I would agree, a school with this much tradition and the history and how old it is not to have an athletic Hall of Fame says a whole lot. That, I think it says a lot for Marty, Bill, and Bill Hughes to get this thing going. Mm-hmm. So, the excitement is starting to build. Calling the inductees, a lot of them were like, wow, I can't believe it. This is great that it started. I'm so honored. And what's great is, Dick Smith from the class of 41, he'll be our oldest inductee here, and then our youngest from the classes of 06, with Kelly McNichols, a swimmer, who unfortunately won't be here. But that age range, and just, to me, that's what it's all about, and that's what makes it special.
And I imagine you mentioned the big list that you guys had and had to whittle down. You've got a pretty good idea of who some of the candidates for next year would be as well.
Right. We do have an idea of some of those, but with the first inaugural class and the program we're going to put out, we'll also have a nomination form in there. So that'll be interesting to see how many nominations we get from that as well. So the list will grow even more, and there's going to be like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that guy or that girl. So a lot of that's going to happen too.
Now, I know there's already just a shrine to athletics here in the hallway with all the trophies and all the banners. Is there going to be kind of a permanent place with plaques on the wall as well for the new Hall of Fame?
We're not looking at plaques on the wall. Unfortunately, we just don't have the wall space and really the appropriate space to do that. What we've looked into is an interactive kiosk. And part of our day of ceremonies on Friday is going to be to do some video diaries of the inductees coming in. So we'll want to incorporate that into it and then kind of give the history of them on that interactive kiosk. You walk up, boom, you push it, you can find out alphabetically who it is. And that's something that's still in the works. And I guess I can throw in the plug. With the nomination form, we're also going to have a donation form because it's not cheap to get started. And the Red Hawk Athletic Sports Boosters have really jumped on board with this to be our major sponsor in this. We appreciate them, kind of taking it. I think it's appropriate that the sports boosters kind of headhunt this a little bit, and they're going to take a lot of ownership, which is great. We've had some great donors as well getting on board with this. And they'll be in the program as well and helping out in every way we can. We'll head over to Blackfin after this and invite the community to come to that. It'll be kind of closed and then invitees only for the first hour from about 7:45 to 8:45, but about 8:45, 9, we'd love the rest of the community to come in and kind of shake hands and meet the inductees.
And hopefully get a good basketball game in between as well.
We're hoping we get a good basketball game. That was the tough part, looking for dates. When will this fit in? This wouldn't be appropriate to do with Naperville Central, Naperville North night. Would it be a great crowd? Yeah, it would be Naperville, but we'd have a tough time getting everybody in the gym. Mm-hmm. So I think with the crowd and that, with Glenbard North, we owe them a big thank you. They moved up the sophomore game to 5 to accommodate us, doing the ceremony in between. But again, I think we'll have a great crowd. My fear is, though, that once the induction's over, everybody walks out of the gym. So hopefully everybody will stick around and watch the varsity team play. You
mentioned Marty B is one of the 3 guys that kind of helped spearhead this project. He was the man that held this post until July 1 when you took over. What's that transition been like, coming in here and, overseeing the big athletic program here at Naperville Central?
It's been a benefit, being in the conference for 5 years at West Aurora as an AD. I got a pretty good relationship with Marty B. In fact, I'd like to think I can call Marty B a good friend of mine. I have no problem picking up the phone, asking him questions. Hey, my big thing coming in here, I don't want to make a whole lot of change, and because it doesn't need to be. So it's kind of taking it all in and being able to ask Marty those questions. Hey, it's the little things. How do you do this? How are things like this done? And then also growing up and going to Wheaton Central, being a part of the conference, playing the Redskins back then in competition. I think I have a good feel of what the conference is all about. So good relationship with working with the coaches already. So the transition was pretty easy, and Marty obviously made that very easy because he just did a phenomenal job here. So there wasn't a whole lot of pieces to pick up.
What attracted you to Naperville Central?
I think it is number one, the tradition, and the attitude of the coaches here. I like the way the coaches. It's not all about just the wins and losses on the fields, on the courts. It's about the whole educational process and making our student athletes a valued part of this community, and not just it's all about putting on the uniform and playing the game. A lot of it is about everything we do outside of putting on that uniform and playing the game, and we're trying to create role models out of these young athletes, and I think they do a great job of wearing the red and white as well.
When you look at the success that this program has had as a whole, you mentioned the great dynamite class that makes up this first Hall of Fame class. And, you guys continue with this fall, second place state soccer, quite a few individuals that place into the individual sports as well at the state level. What do you think kind of fosters the success that these programs have been able to have over the past 15, 20 years?
I think it's depth. One of the things at West Aurora, we just didn't have the depth. We had great number 1 athletes, but we didn't have the number 2 pushing the number 1. And I think that would be the biggest difference here. There's a number 2, there's a number 3 that is ready to step in and wants to take that role. So the athlete that is the number 1 on the depth chart knows that, hey, I got to keep working hard. And that transitions into games, and it transitions into good seasons. I think that's the big part of it. And I think also just the community support. Mom and dad are at home. They're excited to watch their sons and daughters compete, and they're there pushing. We have great parent turnout at all of our events.
What's it like kind of dealing with, we've seen lacrosse really emerge in the last 5 years as a club sport to where it's really up there. They hold their own state championships. There's been talk of possibly becoming an IHSA sport as well. How do you kind of deal with, fostering relations a little bit between some of the varsity programs and, some of the club sports here? I know the club programs are pretty big around here in various sports as well.
I think a lot of that relationship falls on the coaches. Being able to approach and talk to club coaches, and it's still tough. The biggest difference is in high school, the athletics, it's about, to me, the educational process. It's an extension of the classroom. Where at the club, it's all about the sport. And there's some clubs out there, it's about making the bottom line and making money, where that's not what we're trying to do here. But again, some kids are getting a great extension of their sport. You're seeing less and less 3-sport athletes, and even just multi-2 sports because of the club season year-round. And I've seen kids kind of burn out, and once they finally get to college, they're like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Where I think if they're a multi-sport athlete, they don't burn out as much. They're still working on the nuances of movement, but I think it keeps you fresh. I know when I played, I always looked forward. I was done with football. I'm ready now for basketball, and boom, now we're playing baseball. It was a fresh start every season, where if it was just keep going into the same sport, sometimes I think kids kind of burn out a little bit with it.
You mentioned the specialization. It's something that really has, completely grown, but we are seeing some burnout. Do you think there would be, ever a move back to where maybe you see more multi-sport athletes where they're, trying to avoid something like this?
I don't think so. I think it's just kind of the way society has moved. If you look at it, there's club teams out there. They have better uniforms than we do because they can just afford it. They travel farther. I mean, we can't compete with that when a club team is going down to Florida for a week to play in the winter, or they're traveling out west to play. We can't compete with that. We just can't afford to do it. Where on an individual home basis, you can kind of do that when you're taking kids from here and from there. It's not just all one high school team. So do I see multi-sport athletes coming back as much? Until I think colleges really get out there and say, we want a multi-sport athlete because we don't want the burnout. I do hear that from some college coaches. Until that really happens, I don't think so. I just think we're in the direction and the speed of games and the strength of games. Some kids just have to do that to compete in their sport, unfortunately.
Well, we know you got a big ceremony planned on Friday. Good luck with that, and thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. We look forward to seeing you Friday. It should be a great night.